We'll go for 3 words: better user experience. My name is George Macgregor. I'm Assistant Director of Digital Libraries here at the University of Glasgow, and I oversee our digital library infrastructure here.
In 2024, the University of Glasgow Library began a 2-year-long renovation of its digital infrastructure. Project Alex was named in celebration of the Library of Alexandria in Egypt and had the massive goal to update the current library management system and give us a digital glow-up.
In a nutshell, I could say that a library management system is essentially the system backbone of a large research library. It enables the library to describe the resources that it has, both physical and digital. So we might call that cataloguing. It also allows us to acquire physical and digital resources. It also allows us, on quite a mundane level, to control things like the circulation of physical items. So if you're a student, you may have physical items on loan, and we need to be able to track who has what items and so on and so forth. Library management systems do that sort of thing, but much, much more. And I suppose the most important thing that they do is they enable discovery and access of all of that content for staff and for students. So the current system is actually quite old. It's what we would refer to as a legacy library management system. Now, for most students and staff, they're probably relatively unaware of this because we have something known as a discovery layer that sits on top of our library management system, and I suppose to some extent that kind of shields you from what's going on underneath the bonnet. But in terms of what's going on underneath the bonnet, we have quite an old, deprecated system. Electronic resources are by far the most important thing that the library now delivers to staff and to students. Our current system doesn't really have proper functionality for that because it was designed at a time when electronic resource management, it did exist, but it wasn't quite as big as it was. And so the system we have now doesn't reflect the challenges that we faced when it comes to digital resource management. On top of all that, because it's an older system, it's now becoming much more of a concern from a cybersecurity perspective. And I'm sure many of you will be aware of many of the cybersecurity incidents we hear occurring at high street businesses, banks, but libraries are quite often targeted public sector organisations like the NHS, and they're targeted because many of the systems that they use are perhaps not up to scratch in terms of their cybersecurity credentials. So that's an additional reason why we want to move to something that's more secure, and just ensuring that students' digital experience is as good as it can be, and it aids their learning and teaching and research if they're doing that. And so the system we've selected, was selected with those strategic goals in mind. It really is designed to ensure that staff and students get the best digital experience and that learning and teaching research is properly supported. Students and staff will benefit in a huge number of ways, but many of those ways will not be immediately visible to them because they will be benefits around the speed with which we can acquire new materials and make them available for discovery and so on. So all of those improvements will be happening at the back end. But I do think staff and students will notice an immediate improvement in terms of the user experience of searching, browsing and finding stuff at the library. And that's because the data behind the system is going to improve and the reliability of that data will improve, but it's also because the new system is going to present a much more compelling prospect to users, particularly postgraduate research students and staff, when it comes to cross-searching many collections at the university. We have great special collections and archives here. We have a lot of open access research outputs as well. We also have everything that the library subscribes to or has acquired over the years, but at the moment there isn't really a compelling way of searching it all. But that's something. that this new system is going to wave a wand over. It will enable us to pull all of this data together and enable staff and students to cross-search it all. And that makes the new discovery layer associated with our library management system a much more compelling prospect for staff and students. The launch day is 14th of July 2026. July will be upon us soon, and we've still got a lot of work to do, but we'll get there in the end.